GamesCom 2019 is happening right now in Germany, and the fine folks from Marvel Games and Square Enix are over there showing off their first playable demo of their upcoming Avengers game. But for those of us who can't make it to the show because of annoying things like jobs, responsibilities, the cost of flights, and that pesky ocean, Marvel and Square have kindly released the gameplay footage online. Which is great because it means I can finally talk about this stuff without relying on leaked footage that might get me in trouble. There is a whole heap of Easter eggs, comic book references, and story clues in the 18 minutes and 48 seconds of gameplay that they have shared with us, so I won't waste any time before getting into it. But I will just say that if you haven't already seen the 2 breakdowns I did for the E3 Avengers game trailers, I highly recommend checking them out first. I'm going to be referring to a lot of the stuff I talked about in those 2 videos, and in fact, a lot of the predictions I made in those videos, particularly the stuff about Ms. Marvel and the Terrigen Mist, all of that is shaken out to be true. Okay, so here we go. Hey everyone, Josh here from Panels to Pixels, and this is the Gamescom 2019 Avengers gameplay footage breakdown. If you have seen my previous Avengers breakdowns, you will know that I spent a long time banging on about hexagons like a lunatic. This hexagonal pattern is found in all of the artwork for the game. It's in the final shot of the trailer behind this big purple doofus, and it is seen here on one of the enemies that I have concluded is an Adaptoid. Brief summary of Adaptoids, just for context. They are shape-shifting humanoids who were created by AIM to mimic the appearance and abilities of their enemies. Right out of the gate in this new footage we see this hexagonal pattern, but this time it is moving, shifting, adapting. To me, this just further solidifies the fact that we are dealing with Adaptoids here, and they are going to play a major part in this game's story. I mentioned in the previous breakdowns that in the mobile game, Marvel Contest of Champions, Adaptoids evolved naturally due to exposure to ISO 8. If I had to guess, I would say that in Marvel's Avengers, the Adaptoids will be created by AIM using Terrigen Mist, and that could be a possible motive behind the helicarrier heist in the first place, assuming that Taskmaster and his goons have been hired by AIM. So just who are AIM? Well, AIM stands for Advanced Idea Mechanics. They are an organisation of evil scientists who manufacture and sell arms and technology. Oh, and they dress like yellow beekeepers. I previously speculated that they would play a role in the game because of the Adaptoid connection, and we now have confirmation thanks to an official press release which says, "Progress through the single-player campaign to rebuild your hero roster and restore their powers. Then continue to battle AIM solo or online with friends." We also got a screenshot which shows some kind of AIM facility or headquarters, but I'll come back to that at the end. Okay, quickfire Easter egg round. You know I love a comic book issue number reference, whether it be on a license plate or the side of a truck, and this footage is chock full of them. More than I can make sense of, to be totally honest, but I'll touch on a few of my favourites. Just as in the previous trailer, we get the car with the reg number AV10963, which is a reference to Avengers Issue 1, cover dated September 1963. We also get ST135 on the helicarrier, which is a reference to Strange Tales Issue 135, the first appearance of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the helicarrier. On one of the police cars during the Thor gameplay, we see the number 83, a reference to Thor's first appearance in Journey into Mystery Issue 83. There are also squad cars with the numbers 013, 381 and 593. I haven't figured out what these could be references to yet. I checked all the issue 13s and 381s of all Avengers team and solo titles, but nothing really clicked. The only Avenger who has even had an issue 593 is Iron Man, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you can figure that one out. On one of the trucks during the Hulk gameplay, there is a blink and you'll miss it sticker which says Planet Green. It's nice to see that the truck drivers of San Francisco are environmentally conscious, but I think this is most likely a reference to Planet Hulk, the iconic comic storyline starring the Jade Giant which partly formed the basis of Thor Ragnarok. Let's talk about trucks, baby! Amidst the chaos of the falling Golden Gate Bridge, there are a number of trucks which feature some really fun Easter eggs and references. There is a Stark Industries truck during the fight between Black Widow and Taskmaster, and earlier on we see a Pymtech truck. These aren't really Easter eggs per se, because we already know that Hank Pym is in the game from footage shown at E3, but this is just a nice bit of Marvel Universe world building. Eagle-eyed Marvel fans who have boned up on their comics history will have no doubt noticed the Timely Transport truck. This is, of course, a reference to Timely Comics, the Golden Age comic book publisher which would change its name to Atlas Comics and eventually Marvel Comics. This next one is similar but a bit more obscure and might be my favourite reference in the entire footage. Curtis Cargo, the king of shipping. This is, of course, a reference to King Curtis, the kid from that one episode of Y-Swap who loved bacon.
No, I want my bacon. I gotta tell you something. Bacon is good for me.
Just kidding, it's actually a reference to Jack the King Kirby, co-creator of the Avengers, who went by the pen name Jack Curtis during his early comics career. Additionally, there is a fuel truck with the number 1082, which I believe to be a subtle nod to Tales of Suspense issue 82, cover dated October. This is the first appearance of, you guessed it, the Adaptoid. Finally, we see a truck with the Circle Q logo on the side. In the Marvel Universe, Circle Q is a convenience store located at 357 Westside Avenue in Jersey City, better known as the hangout and unofficial headquarters of one Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan. I've previously broken down my theory on how Kamala Khan will play into the game's campaign, and it's looking like I was right on the money. We have now got confirmation that Kamala Khan is not only in the game, but present during the A-Day celebrations. We see her meeting the Avengers and sporting a Captain Marvel t-shirt. Whether this means that we'll actually see Carol Danvers in the game or not remains to be seen, but it is true to the character of Kamala, who is a die-hard superhero fangirl. Speaking of Captain Marvel, we do get a reference to Goose the cat in a radio exchange between Tony Stark and Mariah Hill.
Hell, how's the cat? Tell Fury I really love being shot at with my own weapon.
We'll keep you updated, and Goose is fine.
Ha! I didn't know you were listening to that part.
Later in the footage, after the conflict has broken out on the helicarrier, we see Kamala crying out for her father, and then we see her getting a face full of Terrigen mist. I think it's safe to say that this exposure to the mysterious gas will give her her stretchy, embiggening powers. I expect for at least the first portion of the game, Kamala coming to terms with her new abilities will be the main focus of the story, and she will be the main playable character as we reassemble the Avengers. When Captain America is fighting Taskmaster's mercs in the control room of the Chimera helicarrier, we hear a voice over the radio saying, "I've got the Shepherd in sight." We don't know exactly who or what the Shepherd is, but it seems that this is the real target of the helicarrier heist, whether that be the Terrigen reactor itself or maybe even Kamala. And speaking of the Chimera, I talked about the origins of the name as a creature in Greek mythology composed of the parts of multiple animals in my Avengers trailer breakdown. What I failed to mention in that video was that Chimera is a sibling of the snake-headed water monster Hydra. It's a bit of a tenuous link, but at the very least, following the convention of naming things after Greek mythological creatures does further cement this story into a cohesive Marvel universe. Incidentally, Hydra, who are basically Marvel's surrogate Nazis, also made their first appearance in Strange Tales issue 135 alongside the first SHIELD helicarrier. The term Chimera itself has come to mean something that is composed of multiple disparate parts. Could this describe the construction of the helicarrier itself? In my previous breakdown, I talked about a rumour regarding the crashed helicarrier becoming the player's central hub in the game, and this has now been confirmed too thanks to an official press release for the game. Quote, "Using a reclaimed helicarrier as a base of operations, players launch single-player and co-op Warzone missions in hotspots around the globe." At one point during the action, Captain America says that the helicarrier is being drawn towards a heat signature in the San Francisco Bay. In the comics, this is the location of an undersea AIM base where they conduct scientific experiments involving mutated sea life. There have actually been several occurrences in the comics of huge, freaky monsters emerging from San Francisco Bay, including Godzilla. Yes, the Godzilla. I mentioned in one of my previous breakdowns that this scene with the big purple nurple emerging from the rubble and water is likely an AIM base due to the hexagonal patterns on the wall. Could this be the underwater base under San Francisco Bay? He's no Godzilla, but he looks like a huge freaky monster to me. Now, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the gameplay itself, and there is a lot to talk about. The boss fight with Taskmaster actually looks really great and varied. I can't wait to play through that section of the game myself. Seeing Black Widow dual-wielding pistols is giving me serious Lara Croft vibes, which makes sense considering Crystal Dynamics, the developers behind Avengers, are best known for rebooting the Tomb Raider series. Now this is super specific, but I really love how the ammo display is incorporated into the aiming reticle. That's such a neat idea that I don't think I've ever seen in a game before. It allows you to see how much ammo you have remaining without looking away from the action. Great job, 10 out of 10, Game of the Year. During the Thor section, I noticed that you have Arkham-style counter icons over the heads of the enemies. Okay, sure, if it works, it works. I'm hoping that like Spider-Man PS4, Marvel's Avengers can put its own unique twist on the Arkham combat formula. The Captain America gameplay is giving me flashbacks to 2011's Captain America Super Soldier, which is not a bad thing at all. A more polished version of that game would be the ultimate Captain America experience, in my opinion. But the standout for me is the Hulk gameplay. God, this looks fantastic, doesn't it? There have been some truly great Hulk games, and some terrible ones, but here it looks like the developers have struck that delicate balance between speed and weight to make you feel like a big hulking monster. I also really like how all Green Jeans glows with gamma radiation during combat. I could watch this Hulk section on a loop all day. I mentioned Taskmaster a moment ago, and it's worth just focusing on him for a second. We only saw a brief glimpse of the character in the previous trailer, but here we see him in full swing, sporting his iconic shield and laser sword that he has been depicted with in recent appearances, including in Spider-Man PS4 of course. At one point, Taskmaster says to Black Widow, "From one former SHIELD agent to another," referencing his comics origin as a SHIELD agent who was given the super soldier serum to enhance his photographic reflexes. Comics are dumb. Towards the end of the boss fight, Taskmaster utters the words, "I'll adapt." This is what we in the biz call foreshadowing. Because if I'm right about how the Adaptoids are going to play into all of this, Taskmaster is a perfect fit thematically since he too can replicate the combat abilities of his enemies. One thing that I'm feeling optimistic about for Marvel's Avengers is the game's characterization and storytelling. It seems like they have really nailed the tone of the comics, and there are a lot of classic Avengers tropes on display here. For example, we now know that the pulsar technology that Taskmaster and his band of little angry men are using was stolen from Tony Stark. Stark manufacturing deadly weapons and then carelessly misplacing them is the basis of several classic Iron Man stories. He really is the worst. But none of those stories are more iconic than Armor Wars, the 7-issue arc from the late 80s which is considered one of the greatest Iron Man stories of all time. This revelation that Stark has inadvertently put guns in the hands of the bad guys leads to a bit of an altercation between Thor and Iron Man.
Inventions are dangerous, Stark.
Hey, those weapons were meant for the good guys.
Is that supposed to be a joke?
They had a similar back and forth in the first trailer, and it leads me to believe that neither one of them know what a joke is.
Thor, what's your status?
There are humans trapped, and lots of small, angry men with guns.
Was that a joke? Did Thor make a joke?
But regardless, tension between its members is a cornerstone of Avengers storytelling. They are a dysfunctional family at the end of the day, and that's what makes them so appealing as a superhero team, and it's good to see that the writers have incorporated that element into the game's dialogue. Okay, we're on the home stretch now. At the end of the gameplay footage we get clips from the previous trailer. None of this is new stuff, but I did want to mention a few little details that I've only just noticed. Specifically about the Captain America memorial statue. I actually tweeted out this cover to Captain America issue 113 the other day because it looked mighty familiar. What do you think? Also, something I didn't really pick up on when the original trailer dropped is that Thor has retired Mjolnir and left it on Captain America's memorial as a tribute. Ugh, I think I'm gonna cry. In addition to this new gameplay footage, we also get some high-res screenshots, including this shot of some sort of AIM headquarters in New York City. We know it's New York because we can see the Freedom Tower in the background. I think it's fair to say that this AIM Tower was probably once Avengers Tower, and the AIM have risen in power in the 5 years since the Avengers disbanded. I can't wait to find out who the mastermind behind AIM is in the game. I think that's going to be a really cool reveal. Could it be Baron Strucker or even MODOK? Oh, and finally, just look at AIM's logo for a second. Could it be a hexagon?
They all thought I was crazy. Yeah, well, who's crazy now? The hexagons are the key. The hexagons are the key.
Thank you for watching this video. If you learned something and want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/panels2pixels. It really helps the channel out. Huge thanks to those who have already supported. You can see their names on screen now, and they are just the best people in the world, if you ask me. If you want to see more Avengers game speculation and general comic book video game stuff, subscribe to Panels2Pixels, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.